We have guests attending tonight from all over the world. It is a silver lining of the pandemic restrictions that our use of technology has evolved so that you may join us tonight. Realizing these opportunities, I hope that the opening message we have from the Earth Charter resonates with you all wherever you are located. Luther has joined other institutions and their voices in proclaiming the Earth Charter and partnering with them, endorsing its principles under which we must govern ourselves moving forward. We recognize that we stand at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future to the extent that it can. We realize events are beyond our control, but we can control our response to them and to one another. We must join together, breaking barriers and nurturing networks to bring forth a sustainable global society founded on respect for nature, universal human rights, economic justice, and a culture of peace. Toward this end, it is imperative that we, as peoples of the whole earth, and institutions responsible for education, declare our responsibility to one another, to the greater community of life, and to future generations.
Friends, as we begin, we acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We meet here on the Haldimand Tract, which secured 6 miles on each side of the Grand River from Lake Erie to its head for the Haudenosaunee people for their enjoyment forever, as compensation for their service to the Crown and for lands lost during the American Revolution. This territory is part of the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, commending all to live in peace, stewarding and sharing the resources of this land, home now to people from other First Nations, to Métis and Inuit communities as well. We give thanks to the First People for their care of the land, and we commit ourselves to joining them in this sacred work. We also express our deep gratitude to the land itself, our First Mother. We are grateful for her provisions for us in our journey from cradle to grave, and we thank her for holding our ancestors close to her, heart in safety as we await and work for that day when shalom reigns and love unites us and all of our relations.
Creator, we look in wonder at all you have made and give thanks. Remind us the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. And remind us of our deep connectedness to all that is in it and to you. You confront us with such beauty and such power. And Teach us, O Creator God, to respect this planet, our home, and to live humbly within the web of life.
Years. Not 10, but 110. That is how long it took us to get here. High time, don't you think? Hello, everyone. My name is Joy, officially Mary Phillip, and I'm the assistant principal of Luther. In 1911, when the institution came into being, who would have thought there would be a woman at its help one day? I hope there was at least one person. Well, that day is here, and it's great to be here. Congratulations, Chris, and all the best to you. We are proud of you. If you know Chris, she is not the one to say, okay, we have done it, folks, so let's sit back and enjoy. Instead, she would say, what other bridges can we build? Who else can we reach out to and work with? What are the possibilities we can tap into? Chris, as far as taking up this position, you might think the timing could have been a bit better, but I think it not only could not have been any better, but it was the best possible timing. You did not see it as a constricting time, be it by a teeny weeny virus or the baffling bureaucracy. You just dove right in. So you see, this commissioning of the first female principal dean in the history of the institution is not only of breaking barriers, but also of the incredible opportunities for nurturing networks and relationships, some seeds of which have already been sown, and its fruits taking shape. We have here with us, on screen and in person, some individuals who embody these relationships. So let's hear from them. Jean Becker is a very dear and good friend of Luther and the Senior Director of Indigenous Initiatives and currently also operating as Interim Associate Vice President of Human Rights, Equity and Inclusion at the University of Waterloo. We miss her on our campus, but happy that she's part of this celebration.
Abujo, Sego, Scano, Wache, Kwekwe, Tansi. Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to be here today as Martin Luther University College begins a new era with the commissioning of Kristine Lund as the principal dean, as well as welcoming several new staff, and faculty. I congratulate Kristine on her new role and her outstanding leadership in this difficult time. In my years of experience at Luther, I have found it to be a truly supportive, collaborative, and welcoming community. And I know that under Kristine Lund's leadership, these attributes will be strengthened and will grow. As an Indigenous leader, I appreciate the authentic engagement that Luther builds with Indigenous people. I can always count on action, not mere words, when Luther interacts with our communities. Luther continues to break barriers with Indigenous people in post-secondary through the new position of Associate Professional Faculty, Indigenous Wisdom and Methodologies. I look forward to a continued relationship and working even more closely with Luther in the future. Thank you and congratulations.
The time for 20 questions. But did you know that the country of Costa Rica does not have an army? They are peaceful people. Next on the screen is Miriam Viela, who is the Executive Director of Earth Charter International and Earth Charter Center on Education for Sustainable Development at the University of Peace, San Jose, Costa Rica. Luther has a memorandum of understanding with Earth Charter International, and our partnership has been beautifully blossoming.
Warm greetings from Costa Rica and the Earth Charter International Secretariat. I'm pleased to join you today for this very special occasion and event, Breaking Barriers, Nurturing Networks. I want to especially greet Reverend and Dr. Kristine Lund as the new Principal Dean of Martin Luther University College. On behalf of the Earth Charter International, let me say that we are very pleased with the partnership we have been forging with your college over the years. And I want to say that I look forward to more collaboration and more opportunities to collaborate with you, especially given that I think we share a common vision on the importance to build collaboration across cultures and areas of knowledge. I'm thinking here of a kind of collaboration that actually help us move forward in the path to a more just, sustainable, and peaceful society. And also especially given that I think we share the vision on the importance to cultivate and nurture values, human values, and an earth ethic that pursues the common good and planetary well-being. It seems to me that over the years, there has been a broad perception that we cannot combine formal and non-formal education in the same learning environment, and that higher education can only be provided by institution or by that institution that is in charge and from the geographic place where it is located. Well, I think through our collaboration, we have been breaking these barriers of mindset, and we have been exploring ways to generate new learning experiences with a multicultural learning context that actually can take place by bringing together students who are located in multiple geographical contexts in the same time. And that's what we have been doing through a partnership of our leadership, sustainability, and ethics program. Our collaboration is part of our UNESCO Chair on Education for Sustainable Development with the Earth Charter, which focuses our education programs and research efforts at the intersection of sustainability, ethics, and education. With that, our goal is to continue to enhance young leaders' capacity to become ethical leaders, conscious of their ethical responsibility with the common good, and committed to building a more just and sustainable world. I trust under your leadership, Dr. Kristine Lund, the Martin Luther University College will continue to explore ways of breaking barriers that preclude our societies to move ahead on the direction of a more caring and ecological civilization. I wish you a fruitful new phase and look forward to our close collaboration with you. Thank you very much and all the best.
4 years ago, when we were in the process of becoming Martin Luther University College from Waterloo Lutheran Seminary, we came to know that there already was another institution by that name, Martin Luther Christian University, nestled in the beautiful hills of Meghalaya in Northeast India. And now we are partners. Reverend Dr. Samuel Meshach, Pro-Chancellor of the University, offers his greetings.
It is my honor and privilege to join the commissioning service for Reverend Dr. Kristine Lund as Principal Dean of Martin Luther University College, Waterloo, Canada. I greet you on behalf of the Chancellor, Dr. Glenn Christo, and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vincent Darlang, the Board of Governors, the officers, faculty, and the students at Martin Luther Christian University, Shillong. Dear Dr. Lund, we join with a multitude of witnesses and pray that the God of peace who brought you to this position equip you with everything good that you may do God's will that is pleasing in God's sight through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever. The theme, Breaking Barrier, Nurturing Network, is an apt theme that your leadership is breaking the barrier of the tradition of male leadership and becoming the first woman principal dean of Luther. And secondly, your vision and mission for nurturing and building relationship. We congratulate you and we bless you to carry out this honor. The two commonalities between our institutions is Martin Luther, inheriting the vision and mission to serve God and the people, to establish a working academic relationship for collaboration. Secondly, we see that both MLCU and MLUC are conscious that an academic institution demands an ethic, a responsibility, and a learning environment founded on the pillars of equality, equity, and justice. How does one create a gender-sensitive learning environment? What are the principles that should guide us? We are gratified that Luther shares this vision with us to break barrier in gender equity. We are glad that Dr. Lund has taken the first step towards augmenting Luther Campus networking system to connect to the world to enhance nurturing relationship, essential for any institution, the Christian mission, to be a competitive one in the post-COVID-19 world. The tentative initiative taken under the leadership of Dr. Mark Harris, nurtured by Dr. Mary Phillip and Dr. Alan Jorgensen, is now strengthened under the leadership of Dr. Kristine Lund to enable our students to attend classes virtually with students of Luther, exchange of professors and students, and guiding PhD scholars. We are grateful for this privilege and pray that this collaboration will continue under your leadership, Dr. Kristine Lund. May God support your vision for mission of breaking barriers that would enhance the mission of nurturing networking in this age of digitized world. God bless you. Amen.
Karen Redmond, Chair of the Waterloo Region. She is a former member of the board of Luther and is a long-time ally of Luther. Your support of Luther and its many initiatives, not to mention its faculty, is much appreciated, Karen. I now invite you to offer a few words.
Hello, Dr. Lund, governors and members of the Martin Luther University College community. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Joy. I am honored to be here as a former board member and also to bring greetings on behalf of my colleagues of the Regional Council and the 630,000 residents of Waterloo Region. Martin Luther University College is not unlike our region. It is steeped in a deep tradition of community building, collaboration, and barn raising. This spirit and ethic has led to some of our community's most well-known institutions. However, we're not here today to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the future. For the past 2 years, a public health pandemic and a parallel mental health pandemic have raged across our community, our country, and the world. These pandemics and their impact on our community have shone a light on faith and education. While they've exposed deep fissures in the way we communicate within and across faith traditions, they've also reaffirmed the important role that faith and morality play in the human experience. How often in the past year have we turned to Scripture or to our faith communities for answers to our questions and for healing? To a certain extent, the same can be said of education. At an individual level, this past year has taught us all the importance of numeracy and literacy, not only in the traditional sense, but in terms of health, financial, and media literacy. At a system and institutional level, the pandemic has laid bare the opportunities for innovation in education, for disruption. This year has also validated the importance of education to the functioning of our economy, our healthcare system, and our society. Faith and education have been essential services for the functioning of our community. For many across our region, these resources and expertise come from the Luther community. One can only imagine the deep impact that Luther network of faculty, students, and alumni have had on our community in this past year. This makes me even more hopeful for our future. For the world where Luther's deep networks and collaborative traditions result in the breaking of barriers across faith and education. Into this environment that Dr. Kristine Lund joins Martin Luther University College as Principal Dean. Chris, I am so happy that you're staying at Luther on a permanent basis. I am thrilled that you are the first woman to serve in this role. The Martin Luther and Waterloo Region communities are so lucky to benefit from your foresight, your leadership. Your expertise in theology and care will serve as a valuable foundation for this college and its students. We look forward to what you have in store for this important institution.
Next, we will hear from Dr. Darren Thomas, who is the newly appointed Associate Vice President of Indigenous Initiatives at Laurier.
Recording in progress.
That's good. Luther is looking forward to working with Dr. Thomas and Indigenous Initiatives and nurturing a relationship built on mutual trust and friendship.
My name is Darren Thomas. I'm the newly appointed Associate Vice President of Indigenous Initiatives, and it's my honor and pleasure to be able to offer a few words on the commissioning of Dr. Lund this evening. In my role of indigenization at Laurier as the senior lead is very critical for me to continue to build partnerships across the institution. And the theme for this evening is breaking down barriers. And as I reflected about what I would like to offer in these words this evening, I go back to one of our earliest agreements when settlers started arriving onto our lands. and the challenges they must have faced of meeting people that were so different from one another. Different beliefs and values and ways of knowing and practices of living on the land. So what emerged from the discovery of our differences was the Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty. And I'm sure some of you may have heard this teaching before, but what this teaching involves, it's a metaphor of the differences between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. And they describe the relationship as if it was two vessels sailing on the river of life. And if we just think about this, and if you imagine the wampum belt is a white row of wampum, a white beaded belt of wampum, and two perpendicular lines that are purple. Each one of them represent two sailing vessels, one a big ship that the non-Indigenous settler society were arriving here on, and the other a canoe. If you just think about these two vessels and how different they are from one another and how they move through the water very differently, but yet we must coexist on that same body of water. How do we sail on this water where we don't cause harm to one another, where we don't disrupt one another? And what my ancestors had said to many of your ancestors is that rather than having to worry about how these two vessels are going to move through the water independently, where we may cause harm and disrupt and harm one another, we should in fact bind our vessels together. And if we bind our vessels together, we will move through the water and the navigations will be side by side. That's an important difference in understanding that metaphor of those two rows of purple beads on that wampum belt. Because in the one instance, it certainly recognizes the differences between our people. But in the other, it really recognizes that we need one another to build a relationship of coexistence. And this is where we come to our theme this evening of breaking down those barriers. Because what that relationship really symbolizes is what is going to bind our vessels together is what we often refer to as a silver covenant chain. Is that we, in fact, we wrap our vessels together with the silver covenant chain that binds us to one another. And there's three links to this chain, and that is trust, friendship, and respect. That is really the nature of the intentions of Indigenous and settler relations. I was raised with these teachings, and in this role as the new AVP of Indigenous Initiatives at Laurier, as I work with all the different departments and areas of the university, I want to extend those same silver covenant chain links of trust, friendship, and respect. And again, on this evening celebration, I wish to extend that to you, Dr. Lund, and to all the members of the community at the Waterloo Lutheran College. And I hope that we can continue to build relationships and extend our duties and responsibilities to take care of one another and move forward. Congratulations on this evening, and I hope to see you in person soon. Take care.
I now welcome Dr. Deb McClarty, the President and Vice Chancellor of Wilfrid Laurier University. If you folks did not know, Luther is the parent institution of Laurier. Luther, and Laurier. We make a good team, don't we, Dr. McClatchy?
Thank you very much, Joy. And Dr. Lund, I'm very, very pleased to be here today to honor your commissioning on behalf of Wilfrid Laurier University. For about 60 years, from 1911 until the early 70s, of course, we were one institution, and in our final years operated as Waterloo Lutheran University, and then in 1973, we became Wilfrid Laurier University, and the seminary became a federated college. But I really see ourselves as one integrated institution with a foundation that has seen us through over 110 years of partnership. I'm very pleased that both institutions have continued to evolve over time, and that during that evolution we have stayed such close partners. So it is really an honor for me to be here, as well as a pleasure. And I am secretly hoping that we get back to real in-person soon, and that Kristine can help me with my puppy, who's a year old now, to become one of the Chilling with Dogs to support students in their mental health strength. And I'm hoping that my puppy's going to be a little bit less of a goofball and be able to do that soon. So I'm looking to Chris to help me with that. So thank you very much, everyone, for inviting me here tonight. It's been an honor to be with you, and it's been a lovely evening. Thank you.
Chris, I end this section with a quote from your favorite musician and composer, Edward Grieg. I quote, "Artists like Bach and Beethoven erected churches and temples on the heights. I only wanted to build dwellings for people in which they might feel happy and at home." End quote. Chris, may you be blessedly emboldened to create spaces and opportunities where relationships are forged, learning is nurtured, and where justice and just practices are lived out. Congratulations again. And congratulations to all of my colleagues who will be installed today. Thank you.
Listen to a story from the Christian scriptures in the Gospel of Luke. Now Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, and just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid his hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. Hear what the Spirit is saying to us.
The story in Luke of the bent-over woman has been a favorite of mine for many years. We don't know much about her. She's not named, and we aren't really told what's wrong with her. She has been bent over by a spirit for 18 years. But we really don't know if this is a result of an injury, osteoporosis, mental health challenges, or life's burdens, to name a few. We are just told that this woman has spent the last 18 years of her life not being able to stand up straight. Think about what her experience in the world would have been like. What would she have seen? People's legs and feet, the ground, the sky from a distance out of the corner of her eye, the lower half of a donkey or goat. How difficult it must have been to navigate through her life, not being able to see easily into people's eyes in order to have a conversation. The writer of the gospel tells us she goes to the synagogue, and we aren't really told if it's because she knew Jesus was going to be there, or is it simply she was going to the synagogue to participate in the life of the community. Whatever the reason, Jesus sees her, has compassion, and her burden is lifted. She stands for the first time in 18 years to the fullness of her height. How amazing must that have been? And as I have read this story many times over the years, I have imagined that as the woman stood tall, she would have looked into the eyes of Jesus and seen his delight in her. She was finally free. Wow. No wonder she praised God. That must have been amazing. So you're probably wondering, why did I pick this passage for tonight's commissioning service? I did so because for me it is a powerful message of God's love, compassion, and grace. And in the interaction between the woman and Jesus, she is supported to live fully into who God has created her to be. And in that interaction, Jesus saw her. He really saw her and supported her to live into God's creation. But let me pause here for a moment to just put a little footnote into this story, because often this story is told from the perspective of a miraculous healing, and that the woman is healed and that's why she praised God. But if we look at the placing of this story in the Gospel of Luke, we actually see that the story is being told from the perspective of Jesus opposing the rules about healing on the Sabbath. The story is about challenging the status quo. And so I think it's really important for us to think of that story from that standpoint, rather than emphasize that somehow miraculous healing has to occur or we are not fully whole. No, we can be free to live as God's creation in a whole bunch of ways, and we all do, with various limitations. We're still living fully into who God has created us to be. A 5th century theologian by the name of Prosper of Aquitaine defined the task of theology as ut legem credenti lex statuat supplicandi. Supplicant, my Latin is poor. In other words, the task of theology is to address the plea of the supplicant or the bent one. The foremost task of theology is to consider and lift those that are bent over, the humiliated one, the voiceless, the invisible, the muted, the violated, the abused, and displaced. And we do that because they are part of God's valuable creation. We are living in challenging times. The pandemic catapulted our whole world into a situation in which most of us have never faced before. And it has exposed inequalities that were present before the pandemic, but now have become much more difficult to ignore. Racism, poverty, climate change, the impacts of colonialism, to just name a few, have become increasingly polarized in our views and in our discussions, and many find it difficult to engage in civil dialogue. We have seen an increase in violence in our homes and in our communities. And we are living in a complex time with no easy answers. However, I believe that educational institutions have a critical role to play in addressing the complexities of our life today. And Martin Luther University College brings important resources to these challenges. For over 100 years, Luther and its predecessor schools has been committed to engaging the heads, hearts, and legs of students to prepare them to live lives of meaning and service in the world. How will we continue to do this considering our current context? If I am to take seriously the story told by our gospel writer tonight, the interaction between Jesus and the bent-over woman, then I must take seriously Jesus' call to justice. Firstly, he engaged a woman who was challenged. And he did so on the Sabbath, opposing the rules of those in power. He stood with the one who was bent over. He saw her, and he supported her to claim her freedom. As a theological school, justice must be the foundation and core of everything we do at Luther. And we have begun, starting with David Frimmer, who asked questions about what did it mean to be a public seminary, to Mark Harris's focus on redeveloping the building so that we were oriented to the community, creating a welcoming and affirming space for all to gather in the new building, and to change our name to better reflect our life together, and also to initiate new programs. So we have begun to ask these important questions. However, the pandemic has revealed a greater urgency to address the systemic barriers to full participation for all. And now that the pandemic has revealed inequalities that were more easily ignored by those of us with privilege, we are faced with choices. And choices that will need to be made in all areas of Luther, including the Board of Governors, staff, faculty, students, supporters, and community members. What gets in our way of seeing each other as God sees us? What needs to be learned about our history to build more life-giving relationships? How will we open space for those who have not been heard and really listen? How will we respond with compassion? And how will we do this in ways that are more than symbolic, but rather in ways that create systemic change? How will we work to break down barriers? And how will our partnerships support us and challenge us to do just that? These and other questions are what needs to be asked in all areas of our life together at Luther if we are to take seriously our role as a theological institution. And these are challenging questions that will be difficult at times to face. However, if all of us are to live into the fullness of who we have been created to be, It is what is required. While Jesus interacted with a woman in need, we are also reminded that God's creation extends far beyond humanity, and we have a responsibility to act with justice toward all created beings, because God delights in all that has been created. I do not accept this role as the next Principal Dean of Martin Luther University College lightly, because it is a very uncertain time for post-secondary education and for many areas in our life. However, I accept it, believing that as an institution we can work for justice. In our interactions with each other, we can see each other as precious creations and support each other to live fully. And as an institution, we can partner with others to address the systemic barriers that prevent others in our community and in our world and all of creation from being free. I want to end with a video that Brad Mogok and I made playing together Johan Halvorsson's Norwegian dance number 2. I want to thank Brad for his willingness to partner with me in this venture. And also thanks to Mirko, our communication director, for his assistance in the recording and the editing. I offer this piece as an acknowledgement of my Norwegian heritage, which has been foundational in my life, and a recognition that I do not come to this position alone. I stand in a long line of women in my family who have been independent, courageous, and resilient, having to have faced many significant challenges in their lives. And through it all, their faith was foundational. I also have had many mentors, supervisors, therapists, friends, and colleagues over the years who recognized and supported the development of my skills and abilities, sometimes before I even recognized them. But they, like Jesus, who saw the woman, saw in me capabilities and opened space for me to walk in and claim them. I have worked with many students and clients who have taught me a lot about resilience, change, and healing, and what it means to risk living more fully. To David Frimmer and Mark Harris, 2 previous principal deans at Luther that I worked with as assistant principal, thank you. Thank you both for seeing me and for your support of my leadership over the years. And I'm also grateful for the faculty, colleagues, and staff I've had at Luther, because we've done some wonderful work together over the years. We've enjoyed many laughs, some tears, but we've also marked important celebrations of each other's achievements and life markers. And lastly, certainly but not least, and this is where I'm going to cry, my 2 children, Alexandra and Erica. Before becoming a mother, I never could have anticipated how my heart would break open with such a deep and ferocious love for the 2 of you. Thank you for your persistent love and support, and for also showing me the power of love and how deeply I can feel it and respond to it. I have a Kleenex in my pocket somewhere. I knew this was going to happen. And all of you knew it was going to happen too. I also want to share this video as a recognition that life in an institution like Luther is somewhat of a dance. At times we need to be light-footed as the allegretto portion of the piece. At other times, it's more like the Allegro con fuoco, where we need to be quickened with passion or on fire, as it says in the Italian. And other times, it's more of a lento, where we need to work more slowly. The experience of learning this piece with a significant hearing impairment has also been a reminder to me that it's not about perfection, but rather it's about a persistent commitment and putting your heart into something. And this is what I offer you as the next Principal Dean. Thank you to all of you for being here tonight to mark the next chapter of Luther's life as an institution. I will be looking to you to join us, to support us, to challenge us, as we figure out what it means to break barriers and nurture partnerships. Enjoy Norwegian Dance number 2.
Thank you, Dr. Lund, for that beautiful piece. Bishop Michael, on behalf of the Martin Luther University College Board of Governors, I present Reverend Dr. Kristine Lund to be commissioned as Principal Dean of Martin Luther University College.
Kristine, come and officially claim this office to which you have been called. Bring with you the gifts that God has given you to lead collaboratively with courage and compassion. In this office, you are given the task of overseeing the preparation of leaders for the church and the world. Will you assume this office to which you have been called?
I will, and I trust in God's presence.
Guided by the gospel of Jesus Christ, will you do so in accord with the grace witnessed in the Holy Scriptures and commended by the Lutheran confessions, being a trustworthy steward of the mysteries of God, celebrating word and sacrament, and giving faithful public witness to God's love?
I will, and I trust in God's presence.
Creator God, who has given you the will to do these things, graciously give you the strength and compassion to perform them. And you who have gathered in person and virtually, will you receive Kristine in the office to which she has been called, praying for her, honoring her leadership, and striving with her towards peace and justice? If so, answer, we will. We will. Kristine, the office of Principal Dean of Martin Luther University College, to which you have been called, has been committed to you in the name of the triune God and with the blessing of this community. Kristine, please face the assembly.
And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, passion and peace. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, passion and peace, as God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, justice and joy.
I accept this call with gratitude, and I give thanks for the Board of Governors and a team of colleagues with whom I will carry out the mission and vision of our school.
On behalf of the Martin Luther University College Board of Governors, I present Yvonne Bomberry, Deacon Sherry Coleman, Gelavish Hemet Bolandpur, Reverend Dr. Keong Kim, Dr. Laura McGregor, and Dr. Ara Parker. Please stand.
Yvonne, Sherry, Gelavish, Young, Laura, and Ara. Come and officially claim your place too at Martin Luther University College. Be among us with the fullness of the beauty with which Creator has gifted you, your intellect and your leadership, your talents and your traditions. Teach us, challenge us, learn with us, journey with us. Find here among us a place of welcome with the freedom to contribute your unique voice so that we strive together to bring justice and joy in the world. Yvonne, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Sharon, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will. Ilavish, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will. Young, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will. Laura, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will. And Ara, I ask you, will you assume your responsibilities at Luther with a commitment to inspiring lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will. And now I invite all faculty, please stand as you are able. In your role at Martin Luther University College, will you continue to strive to inspire lives of meaning and service? If so, please answer, I will.
I will.
Creator God, who has given you the will to do these things, graciously give you the strength and compassion to perform them.
And all of you who have gathered in person or virtually to support this community, I invite all of you to stand as you are able. Will you pray for these faculty, staff, and board members, honoring them and striving with them in all things toward peace and justice? If so, please answer, we will.
We will.
Dear friends, may it be understood that the responsibilities to which you have pledged yourself at Martin Luther University College have been committed to you today with the blessing of this community.
Let us pray for creation and for peace in the world. Sun and moon,
Peace be known.
coral reef and coastline,
Peace be known.
atmosphere and ozone,
Peace be known.
flood Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines and Australia, Papua New Guinea, Iraq and Iran, Palestine and Israel, Afghanistan, Jordan, Syria and Turkey. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. France and Spain, Switzerland and Italy, Romania and Slovenia, Czech and Slovak republics, Russia and Finland, Austria and Hungary, Croatia, Estonia, Latvia and Poland, Norway and Sweden, Iceland and Denmark, Netherlands and Germany, Ireland and England. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. South Africa, Angola, Madagascar, Namibia, Botswana, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, Central African Republic, Senegal, Liberia, Cameroon, Nigeria, Tanzania, Sudan, Kenya and Congo, Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea and Rwanda. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. Bolivia and Chile, Uruguay and Paraguay, Ecuador, Guyana, Brazil and Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, Costa Rica, Mexico, Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Greenland and Canada, Haiti and Jamaica, United States and Cuba, all immigrants and exiles, for First Nations of the world, and all their peoples, for those who are missing, for each tribe and family. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. For the healing of the nations, we make our prayers today. Peace be with you.
And also with you.
We invite you to share a sign of peace with each other in the language of your choice, at a distance if you are in person, or in the chat if you are online. Peace.
Thank you, Anne and Bradley. That was beautiful. I'd like to also thank Gerard for his composition and contribution to the music today. As well, thank you to Trillium for sharing your beautiful large space, which permitted us to gather in person and also remotely at the same time. And to make it all sound good and work, it would not be possible without the talents of your Larry Miller and Alex Hook. And I also appreciate Mirko's patience with all of us at this time as well for getting all of the communications out, which had to be adjusted at the last minute due to changing protocols. Thank you to Bishop Michael and Laurie Knott as well from the Synod, and for all your support to Luther on every endeavor that we have. Thank you to Rob Wilson for your expert liturgical direction tonight, and also for your beautiful foliage of your elephant leaf, which you shared with us, something you've nurtured from a very small plant, I understand, and for your own grass, which is showing your grassroots nurturing in another way, and you are always sharing your talents in refreshing ways that helps to lift us all up. So thank you for that. And a special thank you to those who've attended both of our events today on Zoom. We had a gratitude and community event this afternoon, and that will be on YouTube for those of you who missed it. It explains how we hope to have events like this take place in our very own Keffer Chapel someday. But in order to do that, we have to upgrade our technology. And the explanation of the technology campaign is in that YouTube video, which should be posted tomorrow. But at this time, I invite you to make a note of a special offering of gratitude. It's described in your program. We'd like you to share through our nurturing networks at the Glebe Center. Dr. Lund invites you to this new initiative, as she knows that the pandemic has been challenging for children and youth, as we have all heard. So there is a new dedicated initiative at the Glebe Center to support mental health resources for children and youth, something near and dear to Dr. Lund's huge heart. You may also offer your congratulations to Dr. Lund in the chat on Zoom, as we cannot gather to do so in person after this event due to the restrictions. And in that regard, I'm going to also ask you to please leave the room over here when you are guided to do so that we may maintain our distance and our direction. And again, thank you to all who have participated. It's been such a pleasure to be able to do this in person. It's been long awaited. And I thank all of you out there in the virtual world who couldn't be here tonight. And we are very grateful for your support and your participation. Until we can gather again, I say good night.
And now, I invite you to share in the sending words that you'll see on the screen by reading the bolded parts. When we listen deeply to each other and to the earth, God gives us a vision of a world as God's love would have it. A world where the weak are protected and none go hungry or poor. A world where the riches of creation are shared and everyone can enjoy them. A world where humans live in harmony and mutual respect. A world where peace is built with justice and justice is guided by love. This is the moment to live into this vision. Este momento.
La 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 la.
Go in peace and with good courage.
Thanks be to God.